Hi, this is Fern G. Carr, website www.ferngzcarr.com. Welcome to my Winnipeg Poetry Reading Series, Part 3. I was delighted to be invited to Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, to do a reading to celebrate National Poetry Month. Since I'm originally from Winnipeg, I was fortunate to have friends and family in attendance, in addition to other audience members, some of whom belong to a poetry appreciation group. I'm pleased to share excerpts from my presentation. It was based on poems from my book, Shards of Crystal, along with the special Winnipeg segment which I included. The final video in this series concludes with an interesting question and answer session. Here is part 3 of 5 of my reading. Enjoy! Is most about Winnipeg. I miss banana-flavored Jeannie's cake, shortbread cookie crust, luscious creamy icing adorned with pink and yellow florets, dark chocolate curls slathered along the sides. I miss giant apple pancakes draped over the rims of pancake house plates, juicy baked apple slices peeping out from underneath their blanket of sugar and cinnamon. I miss iconic Colecus hot dogs and greasy shoestring fries, dim sum at Cum Cum, smoked Manitoba Gold-Eye. I miss Academy Road boutiques, the shops of Polo Park, art exhibits at the WAG, and losing myself in the plush red velvet seat at the Centennial Concert Hall with my opera buddy. I miss the planetarium, starry dome, sultry folklorama evenings, the vibrancy of the Forks, and the opportunity to parler français at Saint-Boniface. I miss the Kildonan Park flower garden, where we sat on the same bench every summer. Our bench, no one else's, sorry. The witch's hut, feeding ducks and squirrels at the pond nearby. I miss the Humane Society, nature hikes at Fort White, a sanctuary of trembling aspens, the Assiniboine Park Zoo with its formidable orange tigers, the Discovery Center's flying foxes and fruit bats roosting upside down, haunting their darkened grottos. But what do I miss most about Winnipeg? I miss my mother and sister. Okay, now this one is in the book, and it's called Lake Winnipeg, and Matthew's gonna like this one. It's based on when Matthew was little, my son Matthew, and I took him fishing, but I took him fishing on the condition that I don't do worms. I don't touch worms. No way, he'd have to do all that part, but I think he still remembers this. And anyway, this was basically the scenery that we saw, and it made an impression on me, and I wrote a poem called Lake Winnipeg. Furious crests surge, billow, and pummel the shore, spewing spray like a geyser from a whale's blowhole. Foamy gray waves crash with a deafening roar as they ebb and they flow and they pitch and they roll. Swirly leaden clouds surrender muted beams of light, revealing a barely discernible pinpointed drift, spied by weary seagulls buffeted by winds in mid-flight. It's a fisherman bravely casting a net from his skiff. Sailboats docked in the marina, bob upon the lake, masts rhythmically rising and falling in sync. Nestled alongside the boardwalk, sheltered from the wake, with only the breakwater separating them from the brink. Okay, so thank you. Now the last dark chapter in the book, there's more to the book than just the dark poems, of course, deals with accidents, funerals, and even the supernatural. But this first story is actually based on an incident that happened in Kelowna. Kelowna, for those of you who don't know, is adjacent to a lake. And people want to go to Lake Okanagan Resort. And there was a very, very steep, winding pathway to get to Lake Okanagan Resort. and there have been many accidents as a consequence, but it's since been repaired. So the poem is based on that. But again, the epigraph here, my poem is called Return to Sender. I think you'll recognize the quote, and the quote ties into the poem. Neither snow, nor rain, nor heat, nor gloom of night stays these couriers from the swift completion of their appointed rounds. And that's the inscription from the General Post Office in New York City. No snow, no rain, no heat, no gloom of night, just good old-fashioned sunshine enveloped the mail truck as it doggedly grappled its way to the summit, passing conifers and homes nudged, slightly askew, by the mountain host. On a glorious Disney morning, flowers a-bloomin' and birds a-tweetin', the postmistress steered her van with one hand while she sorted mail with the other, experienced eyes darting back and forth. Road, mail, road, mail, road, mail. Until the road got lost in the mail and she found herself being returned to sender. Truck plummeting into the azure lake below. A splash, silence, eternity. Now she's but an anecdote, stamped into memory. Local folklore shared with tourists on lazy summer days. This poem, A Funeral in the Rain, I had originally written as a visual concrete poem. And what that means for those of you maybe not in the poetry group, visual poetry is written in the shape of the subject of the poem. So I had written this in the shape of a tombstone and a plot with a lot of fancy fonts. But when a publisher publishes your book, they have to shrink it down to a smaller size paper. And I just thought that, the poem would lose a lot of its legibility. So I redid it in regular stanza form. So this is A Funeral in the Rain. Under a slate-colored sky, raindrops pelt umbrellas balanced on long legs, flamingo-like above weary heads. Silent tears blend with the rain and trickle onto the drenched grass. All else is quiet except for the drone of a prayer for the deceased and the occasional whoosh of a distant car splashing through puddles, oblivious to the grief of those who mourn. As the service concludes, some linger in the rain-soaked cemetery to pay their respects to loved ones who have long since passed on to their final resting place. A place where it doesn't matter why the bereaved weep, for the deceased or for themselves, a grim reminder of their own mortality. They shed tears that subside like the rain as the clouds pass and those above ground depart to resume their daily routine.
Acknowledgements. All poems contained herein, Canadian Museum for Human Rights, and Shards of Crystal photos, copyright Fern G. Carr. Lake Winnipeg, Return to Sender, and A Funeral in the Rain are from my book Shards of Crystal. Lake Winnipeg was first published in Okanagan Arts. Return to Sender was first published in Cirque. A Funeral in the Rain, visual version, was first published in Whitewall Review. Thanks very much for watching my video. If you enjoyed it, feel free to like, and please be sure to subscribe. For more poetry, my book Shards of Crystal is available on Amazon. Thanks again, and stay tuned for a new video every Wednesday.